Hello and welcome to the Bucket Lister podcast. Join your host Keith Crockford along with special guests who have travelled the world, here to share stories of their adventures and plenty of inspo to add to your bucket list. Now, let's get into today's episode.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Bucket Lister podcast. I'm back again chatting to Dave Blower, who has literally just come back from our Jordan trip. So hello Dave.
Hi Keith.
So Dave, I've already decided what I'm going to call this podcast before we've even got going, from something you said to me the other day. And that was Jordan, the trip that keeps giving.
Keith, 16 clients went with me. And every one of them would agree with that. It starts off at like a slow fuse burning, and then bang, 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 bang. There's so many aspects to this trip. I'm not even trying to sell it. I said to you on the phone last night, I want to go back. There's so much more I want to absorb, because I couldn't absorb it all. I'm used to this.
And it's such a shame, isn't it? Because obviously we were scheduled for this trip to go in 2020. It was supposed to be This is the first time we've ever run this trip. And, we wanted to run it in 2020. Obviously, something kind of got in the way there. And this has been the first opportunity that we've been able to run it.
Yes, it has. And I'll be really honest about this. I wasn't sure. And I think probably the people listening to the podcast know the sort of trips I do. And they usually mountain oriented, quite often very long, 18 days, proper trekking. And my own hobbies are mountaineering and climbing, open water swimming, So I thought, this is going to be looking up, babysitting adults on a holiday. And I was completely wrong. All of us got absolutely absorbed in, it's going to sound so boring, but it wasn't. Arab history, culture, the Middle East, and we learned how much our own country is wrapped up in the Middle East. Jesus, Moses, and he wasn't religious in the sense of, we're all born again Christians or anything. It was just absolutely fascinating culturally. And I'm going to tell you this. We saw in Wadi Rum, we saw some writing on a rock, and you could touch it. I mean, it wasn't like Stonehenge. No one did touch it out of respect. But Bedouins, this is 2,500 years ago, when we were living in mud houses, and the vast majority of the population couldn't read or write. The Bedouins were writing down instructions to other Bedouins, nomads in effect, telling them where the next water was, where shelter was from the sandstorms, where they could shelter from the heat of the day. And that was passed on not just by one person, but the whole Bedouin groups who were traveling understood what these pictograms, this language meant that was written. A civilization that miles in front of us. I like many civilizations have come and gone, but it was just eye-opening and fascinating. And I will say this now, you see how excited I'm about it. The guide we have, Osama, was excellent. And he'd say to us, have I said enough about this? And people say, no, on the bus, tell us more. Just a fascinating place. And I thought I knew a bit about it, but no way. It was an education in the nicest possible way, and an adventure as well. It was just incredible.
I mean, that's it, isn't it? We are an adventure travel company. So, when we looked at this trip originally, obviously Petra, the Dead Sea, Wadi Rum, they're on lots of people's bucket lists.
Yes.
But would you say the trip ticked it off in terms of an adventure trip?
It did. Without sounding too pretentious, it was an adventure of the mind as well as of the body as well. I mean, I've talked a bit about my continuing excitement about what I learned about the Arab world, but it was an adventure in the sense that we were trekking down wadis, which are valleys, 10 miles, uneven ground, clambering over rocks, dropping down through gorges, and walking around rock ledges. So there was some excitement in it, and a number of the trekkers, and if they were joining us now, they would say it, had to overcome their own anxiety levels about doing that. But it was all done perfectly safely, of course, because we know how to do these things. But people were just taken out of their comfort zone, not too far. So they got that excitement that we all get by outdoors adventure. So there were at least two full days of that. And I could talk more about that, obviously. So it was just incredible. And also we had the, if you like, the adventure, Wadi Rum. Okay, you do rock up in a vehicle, but when we were trekking through the Araba Desert, and the Araba Desert is a proper desert. There's no one else around until you actually get to some habitation. So you had all that kind of excitement about what's coming up, where are we going as well. And certainly a couple of clients. I'm trying not to gabble here because I'm excited about this trip. A couple of clients who it was their first trip with us, and they weren't sure what to expect. And they both said to me individually, I can't believe what I've achieved in terms of pushing myself, apart from what I've learned, but what I've achieved physically. So absolutely, there is an adventure silver strip running through the whole thing.
So talk us through the trip then, day by day, from leaving the UK back to the UK. What did the trip actually involve then?
There's some great variety in it. The trip involves, we leave the UK and make our way. I mean, it's a number of hours, 7 or 8 hours, and with a transit in between, make our way to Amman. We get to Amman, which is the capital of Jordan, and we're taken through immigration, and we're taken to downtown Amman. And we stayed at a particular hotel called the Art Hotel, but that obviously that may vary. But it's a simple accommodation, but it is downtown. And by that, the hustle and bustle of Arab city life is all around you the minute you walk out the door. Now,
how would you compare that to Marrakesh then, for example?
I would say compared to Marrakesh, because Marrakesh we tend to think of the centre marketplace, no traffic. There's quite a bit of traffic going on, but it's vibrant in the same kind of way. What I want to say, though, is we were there, and I think, and I could see it, sense it in the clients, and I'm not done a lot of travelling, so I wasn't expecting to feel it, but I thought, what is this going to be like? Are we going to get aggression? Are we going to have people trying to get money off us? What is it? So I was watching the group very carefully. I have to say, the Jordanians, I love them. We went out late at night, Keith, in Amman, and our guide said, it'd be fine. And there were young guys hanging about on street corners, and we got a bit lost. They come up to you and say, "Oh, hello, where are you from?" And I thought, here we go. We're going to be after something. We're from England. Oh, you're welcome. Where do you want to go? We explained. Oh, Ahmed will take you. Won't you, Ahmed? And Ahmed, is the 19-year-old cool dude. Goes, yeah, I'll take you. And off he goes. Took us where we wanted to go. And I thought, this is it. He's going to turn around now and say, right, hand over your money. No, not a bit of it. He just shook my hand and said, "Oh, welcome, enjoy Amman." And we went, and we had that experience over and over again in the restaurants and everywhere. So it's a noisy, bustling place, but the Jordanians, I have to say, are just so hospitable and welcoming. And that's the experience we all had. No one different. Anyway, we stay there a night, and the next day we go off and we go and look at. Oh God, this is going to sound boring, but it wasn't. We go to a place called Jerash, and we look at Roman remains, and we learn about the Incense Road. Everyone has heard of the Silk Road, but we learned about Incense Road that runs north to south, and the architecture, again, you just cannot believe how old it is and what fine condition it's in. Learning a lot about stories about local life. And then that evening, according to our itinerary, which I'll stick to, we drive to the Dana Biosphere Reserve. There we stay in a tiny village, halfway down a mountainside, and we stay in a simple hotel. I'm going to say this right now. The food was excellent, and it was all the way through. If you've had Lebanese food before, it's very similar. Lots of things like hummus, gently spiced food. Meat tends to be chicken, some meat, but lots of vegetarian options, and just a great range of Arabic dishes. Even in the simplest of places, that's what you got. So that was fantastic. After Dana, we then hike, and this is the downhill undulating stretch really to the Eco Lodge, Fain Eco Lodge. It's the largest reserve in Jordan. Massive diversity of plants and animals, but you are walking through semi-desert conditions, and it's challenging. If you've not done any walking, it will be challenging, so you have to be a bit fit for it. Lots of different coloured lizards and whatever. But when you get to the Eco Lodge, you walk in. I'm going to say it, fabulous rooms with beautiful beds with mosquito netting. It's very kind of romantic, dramatic in that sense. But what they do is from there is a couple of things happen. There's a walk out into the desert to see the sunset from some high rocks, which is really well guided. And then you're brought back. And when you get back, there's no electricity in the place except in your own bathroom. So everything is lit by candles. And then you go in for your meal. And it's a massive chandelier with lots of candles in it. Very beautiful. And the food is purely vegetarian there. Now, as you know, I'm a big meat eater, but it was delicious. I mean, just everybody was commenting on that. The food was fantastic. It was a great way to relax. And then in the evening, they got out mattresses and we all lie on the rooftop because it's warm, beautiful, and looking at the stars. And one of the guys there with a laser pointer told us all about the stars. And again, what strikes you is that, thousands of years ago, the Bedouins were using the stars to know when they had to plant things, when they had to move on, when they had to protect themselves from snakes, what season was coming next, when to kill animals to eat. They'd mapped the sky long before we even thought of it, certainly in England. So that was really educational, fantastic. And the next day, there's the opportunity to take a walk and a local community experience or cooking classes for this beautiful Arabic food. I won't bang on about that. After that, we start hiking to Little Petra. And that, again, is you're out amongst these incredible sandstone formations. There's some challenging bits on that walk, but you learn a lot about the previous civilizations. I'm starting to sound like it's a history trip. It's not just a history trip. The landscape is so dramatic. I just wanted to stop, and I have to say personally, I just wanted to climb some of it, just incredible. So you're walking through these and then you get to Little Petra and you think, wow, this is astounding. What on earth is Petra going to be like? And at Little Petra, as you come out, and you've shown it, you walk into it through a ravine. So again, it suddenly exposes itself and you can't believe it's there. At Little Petra, you stay in night in what's called a Bedouin experience, and you have your own tent, beds, two single beds in, and a massive Bedouin tent. Inside, there's a fire, and loads of lovely food, and you can sit on cushions on the ground in Arabic style, or you can sit at a table, and we just end up sitting around the fire, just talking and laughing and just enjoying it. It was absolutely lovely. So that was Little Petra, and from Little Petra you hike then the next day to Petra. What can I say about Petra? If you've seen it on YouTube, if you've seen it on Instagram, and you think it looks fantastic, that is nothing compared to what it's really like. I have to say, shock when you see those monuments that were carved by hand out of the sandstone and the majesty of them. It's just for me, it was just a completely. I thought Little Petra was fantastic, but I haven't got the words for it really. And everybody felt the same. It felt so much the same in the morning, without anyone nagging or whatever. Everyone was up for 6 o'clock breakfast, or even missed breakfast to go back in to get to maximise what they saw during that day. I'm not going to go on about what's there because you can look that all up, but it's just absolutely incredible. I'm choosing my words very carefully. I mean that. You can hardly believe it. And then that night we stayed in a luxury hotel, and after the Bedouin tent, that was so different again, and it looked after beautifully, air conditioned, huge room. Everybody was very, very comfortable there, but itching to get up in the morning to go back into Petra because we have a 2-day pass. The third day, so the next day we've gone back into Petra, and then midday we leave and we drive coach to Wadi Rum, and then we get out of the coach and we get in the back of pickup trucks. Hold on tight, guys, and you're taken around Wadi Rum, and there we have opportunity to climb the high sand dune to really look at it. It's the biggest valley wadi in Jordan. We get shown some incredible artifacts that are there. I think that's where most people took many, many, many pictures. And then after we've done that, we drive through Wadi Rum. Of course, Wadi Rum is where Lawrence of Arabia was filmed. So anybody knows that film, that's where it's filmed. It's where you see Faisal, the leader of the Arabs, coming in from the sun into Wadi Rum. So if those who've seen the film, it's got that sort of dramatic connotation as well. And then from there, we drive through the sand, round rock bluffs. Where are we going? We're going. And we come to the luxury Bedouin camp. Now, the reason this trip keeps giving and giving and giving, because the standard of accommodation goes up and up and up and up in different ways. And this was my Bedouin tent. I was like being in Harry Potter, Keith.
You sent me a picture. You sent me a picture of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and you jumped, didn't you? I opened the door. I remember an old Popeye film where Olive Oil looks in a tent like that, and her head and her neck wrap around and look back in again. It was just like Harry Potter. I opened the flap, and inside, I had a huge double bed, furniture, air conditioning unit, and off that, a shower, a toilet, and none of it bodged together because it's in a tent. It was all perfectly situated, nothing leaking, everything working. So I got this fabulous tent, and so did everybody. That night it poured and poured with rain, and a little bit of rain did run into one of the tents. But immediately we told the staff, they were down there sorting it out. So no, we got that sorted. And there's lots and lots of attention. I don't want to give too much away, but the head chef there, gathered us all up and said, "Oh, come out with me to the sand." So we went off into the sand. And there was like a trapdoor in the sand, opened it up, and there was an underground oven. And he pulled out a rack full of vegetables, and underneath that full of meat, which is lamb meat, which is very popular. And then he said, "Right, follow me into the dining hall." We went in there, and there was a massive buffet laid out, and there was this as well. So we had some traditional Arab cooking in there. That was, everybody really enjoyed that. Next day, what a change. off we go on the bus, only an hour max. And we get to Aqaba, which is the only port they've got on the Dead Sea. Follow me, down to a dive boat. We all jump on a dive boat, massive padded front on it. So this is starting to sound like a holiday now. But when we got onto the boat went out and out, found a reef. Right, everybody's going snorkeling. Well, you've done it before. We're going to show you how to do it. So everybody was in the water snorkeling. And I tell you, there are people, I mean, characters, like Jane, whatever, they didn't want to get out, I was in the water saying, come on, the boat is going to go. It's not a joke. And it was like jumping into an aquarium, as you know. It was just incredible. So there were people there, clients we had there who were nervous about the water but wanted to do it. And I know they had a brilliant time. Back to the then from there off to the Dead Sea. We get there at night. The Dead Sea Spa Hotel, even more luxury, I have to say. I wasn't expecting my room. Going to the loo in the night as an old man, it was like walking down a corridor, to get to it. That's how big my room was. And I'm not just talking about mine; it was everybody's room. The place is built on a massive proportions, 4 swimming pools, it's like the pièce de résistance at the end, 4 swimming pools and a solarium and all the rest of it. But it's got the biggest beach on the Dead Sea. And you go down there and float, and you know what a swimmer I am. There's no way you can swim because there's not enough of you touching the water, when you lie flat. You mustn't get it in your eyes because you can, but it's not damaging, but it does sting. Obviously, it's very salty. And there are great big tubs of Dead Sea mud. So all of us were muddied up. And I have to say, I thought it was a load of hokum. And my wife said, yeah, I thought you would. But when I came out, I tell you, my skin was so soft.
You look 20 years younger, Dave. You only look 60.
And I had no one there to stroke it either. So it was that was quite an experience. And by then, the people just spent the afternoon resting by one of the pools because I think we just the trip is relentless. It keeps going. We're not sort of hanging about, sitting, we're getting on with things. So there's plenty to do. And then the next morning we're off and catching our flight back. Greeted at the airport by a representative of the company over there, taken right through to check in. It's a lovely airport. I'm on airport. There's hardly anyone there, and very, very, very efficient at getting you through. So you're on the plane. We left bang on time. And our journey took us to Istanbul and then on, but everything went tickety-boo. So that's day by day, Keith. Is that enough?
And would you say then, like, obviously that was your first time of going to Jordan. Would you say that by going on that trip, you've kind of ticked Jordan off if you just went on to that trip?
I think if you go on this trip, the variety, you start in the north of Jordan, you go right down to the south, you skirt the Israel border, you travel the Incense Road, you walk out into the Araba Desert, or the Arabian Desert, but they call it the Araba Desert. You see the sky that there is there, you learn about the culture. I'm not even talking now about Petra. Petra is a massive attraction, but you've got all these other things accreted around it. And I would say, yeah, it's ticked off. But I will say this. I am personally desperate to go back because you can't take it all in. Petra is it's not just, here's the monastery, here's the treasury, bang, bang, the pictures you see. There's so much to it to see. We climbed early morning the place of high sacrifice, and I took a video of just everything that was there from this high place, and just need to go back. But you do get Jordan, every aspect of Jordan. You absolutely do, including the city life as well.
And do you think that's a bit like Machu Picchu though? Because like you've been a couple of times this year, I've been a couple of times this year. Like every time you go back, you always learn something else, don't you?
Yeah. I think that's absolutely true. These places that are the man-made wonders of the world, you can tick them off. Yes, you can. I've been there, but I have to say, Machu Picchu did it for me, but I think Petra, for me, this is Dave Blower talking, is a step above in mystery and achievement. It's just you just want to go back, and there's so much more to learn. And the thing is, you are made welcome. You are absolutely made welcome. Of course, there are people selling things and all the rest of it, but no, there's no hassle. And if you ask somebody where's X or Y, you're not held to ransom. You're looked after, and you're absolutely. The Jordanians want you there. I mean, I've got so many stories, like, when we meet up, to tell you about people I met just having a Turkish coffee, some old guy making coffee, sitting down. He says, "Oh, sit down, and have coffee." And then there's another customer there just turning to him and starting to talk. And then a massive conversation, just friendly, just very friendly.
And the nice thing about this trip is, there is no real kit list, is there? Like, there's nothing special you really need for this trip.
No, you're absolutely right. We have a comprehensive kit list as ever, because we could go there and there could be some cold desert nights. There could be. We didn't experience it this time, so you can't just go, with your flip flops and your just your trainers and a t-shirt, and you need some walking gear as well. But it's not specialist like when we go really high. You haven't got that aspect to it.
And what would you say then, for anyone that has thought about going to Jordan or going and seeing Petra? What advice would you give them?
I would say this, and I say this at every trip: don't just get off the settee and go. I say it about every trip, really. Just get a bit of walking in, because you've got to be able to walk for 10 miles one day, 2 days, undulating surfaces. There's not tarmac. It's not like a footpath in England. So you've got to be prepared for that. But if you get yourself, out and about and fitter, not fit, it's just massively enjoyable. And you've got to be interested in, you've got to be interested in wanting to learn about another place, another culture. And if you've got a slight interest, this place will captivate you.
Brilliant. Well, Dave, thanks ever so much. That's your last trip done now for 2022. You can go and have a month and a bit's rest before your next trip to Patagonia in January.
Yes, that's another first, isn't it?
And then we'll definitely be hearing from you again in the middle of January when we come back to discuss that Patagonia trip. So thanks ever so much for coming on. I now need to go and put a dinner suit on, because this evening a few of us from the Bucket List Company are heading to the British Travel Awards, because we've been nominated for a few awards there. We are up against some of the big boys in the travel industry, but it's nice to be recognised, to even have been nominated. So
fantastic.
It's nice to be there, but we'll see how we get on. But we've got our fingers loosely crossed, but we are up against some big boys. So I'll let you know next week how we get on. But Dave, thanks ever so much for coming on again, like I say, and I'll speak to you all next week. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bucket Lister podcast. Be sure to click follow to be alerted for next week's episode. For more travel inspiration, check us out at www.thebucketlistcompany.co.uk or follow us on socials. See you next time.